Welcome to the Disability Granted channel. This is Broken System Part 3, Payday. Parts 1 and 2 may have shocked you. Part 3 is going to anger you. It's going to anger you a lot. This story began when Alan Chrisman was wrongfully denied Social Security disability. Mr. Chrisman was a 59-year-old stonemason who suffered late-stage intestinal cancer. He applied for Social Security disability and was wrongfully denied. Why? Why was Mr. Chrisman wrongfully denied? His medical records alone qualified him for Social Security disability. USA Today and the Tennessean conducted a 5-year investigation into the matter. They worked hard to find out why Mr. Chrisman was denied Social Security disability. If Mr. Chrisman was wrongfully denied, we can expect that others were wrongfully denied as well. Their investigation found that the unnamed disability examiner botched Alan Chrisman's disability determination. They could have investigated the disability examiner for incompetence, but they sensed something worse. They sensed corruption. Corruption has a foul smell, and that led them to Dr. Thomas E. Thrush. Dr. Thrush was the medical consultant who recommended that Alan Chrisman be denied Social Security disability. Investigation of Dr. Thrush led investigators to other medical consultants. They were contracted by the state of Tennessee with federal monies. Federal money paid for Dr. Thrush. Federal money paid for other physician contractors. The investigation found that Tennessee received $8.5 million in 2018 from the federal government. That $8.5 million was meant for disability determination services to pay 50 contract medical consultants, including Dr. Thrush. Federal money funded an inequitable system. The system substantially reduced the number of disability applications which were granted. It funded a broken system. The Social Security Administration has its own rules, but these monies that were provided by the federal government undermined those rules, and the result was many applications were wrongfully denied. The 5-year investigation uncovered a scheme which paid fortunes to medical consultants, including Dr. Thrush, whose contracts were funded by the federal government. According to the Tennessean, medical consultants in Tennessee are paid a flat rate for each medical record they review. And that's where the problem is. It's built into the Tennessee system now, and others. Social Security tells us that some medical records contain a few pages. Others include hundreds of pages of doctor's notes, hospital reports, x-rays, lab results, and employment records. And doctors are required to write a brief report to justify their findings, their recommendations. I'd like to see Dr. Thrush's report. I'd like to see his report in Alan Chrisman's case. For this work, medical consultants in Tennessee and some other states were paid a flat rate from $30 to $47 per medical record review. Their hourly income increased by the number of reviews they made. They weren't paid less than flat rates for medical record reviews, no matter how little time they put into it. Contract doctors could also earn money for consulting staff or mentoring other physicians. That sounds like a good thing to do. And they were paid $68 per hour to do that. But what do you think? If a medical contractor can do 5 medical record reviews in an hour for $235, why waste that hour on mentoring physicians or consulting staff? Remember, always follow the money. Investigators concluded that how much medical consultants earn in states such as Tennessee depends on how fast the medical consultants work. And Dr. Thrush worked fast. The Tennessean reported that in fiscal year 2018, Dr. Thrush averaged one medical review every 12 minutes. We really don't know for sure whether it took Dr. Thrush 12 minutes to review Alan Chrisman's medical record. It could have been more than 12 minutes. It could have been less than 12 minutes. 12 minutes was the doctor's average. For all we know, Dr. Thrush didn't even review Alan Chrisman's medical record. At that pace, Alan Chrisman's medical record was one of 5 reviewed by Dr. Thrush in an hour. 1 of 5. Is that fast? Seems like it. Well, how fast is it? Is there a standard for medical reviews? Yeah, there is. The investigation found that the federal standard for medical reviews was 1.5 cases per hour. That's 40 minutes per review. The Social Security Administration further provided statistics that showed Tennessee's medical consultants were spending an average of 47 medical minutes per case. That's nearly 4 times longer than Dr. Thrush's 12-minute reviews. Maybe Dr. Thrush made a few shortcuts, if he reviewed medical records at all. Outside experts and former and current state employees say it's impossible to review that many cases so quickly without making mistakes that lead to wrongful rejections of disability benefits. One of those authorities is Jeffrey Price. Mr. Price was a past legislative director for the National Association of Disability Examiners. Mr. Price also worked for North Carolina's Disability Determination Services for nearly 40 years. Mr. Price reported that about half of the disability offices in the United States operate on models like Tennessee. They're contract physicians paid by the number of reviews they do. Mr. Price explained the contract model introduces some risks. If you're paid by the case, it behooves you to sign off on as many cases as you can. At the very least, Mr. Price said, I think that model has the potential for increased error rates. And there's more. The federal government has other financial incentives for making hasty medical reviews. You've heard of the carrot and the stick. Well, flat rates for medical reviews are the carrot. So what's the stick? The federal government threatens to impose financial penalties for not meeting goals set by the federal government. That's the stick. Mr. Price suggested that medical consultants such as Dr. Thrush are valued. Yeah, they're valued for their hasty disposal of cases, which he said shovels large caseloads from their offices. You got to do that or you get hit by the stick. Mr. Price said the pace is implausible, dangerous, and inherently you'll miss something if you're looking at 5 cases an hour. Mr. Price concluded something needs to be done. Remember who else said that? Do you remember? Alan Chrisman. Alan Chrisman said something needs to be done. Well, what do other medical contractors say? Investigators reported that 5 current and former contractors like Dr. Thrush and state employees said they believe disability applicants are being wrongfully denied as a result of medical consultants who process as many applications as possible. Both spoke to the Tennessean on the condition of anonymity for fear of reprisal. It's like a cash register, said one of the contract physicians. From our perspective, it's unethical. From a consumer's point of view, it can be tragedy. Is there any safeguard against wrongful denials resulting from quickie medical reviews? Does anyone care whether disability determination services got it right? Isn't the government concerned? It's paying $8.5 million for medical contractors. Doesn't it want to know how they're doing? Well, according to an analysis by the National Organization of Social Security Claimants Representatives, the law doesn't set specific requirements for denials. The Tennessean reported that state and federal offices review a tiny percent of denied disability claims for accuracy. Social Security reviewed fewer than 2% of all rejections. Oh, well, how did they do for claims that were granted? By law, we're told half of all approvals by state DDS personnel are reviewed by Social Security Administration staff. They say the provision is meant to safeguard public funds. Ssdi is not funded by the public. Ssdi is funded by payroll deductions from workers. Those deductions are contributed to the Fund for Social Security Disability Insurance, Ssdi. Not supposed to be used for public funds. Well, you might wonder, why did the state of Tennessee choose Dr. Thrush to be one of its 50 medical contractors? I mean, of course, he's a physician. The Tennessee's investigation reported that Dr. Thrush is also a convicted felon, and Dr. Thrush isn't the only convicted felon among Tennessee's medical consultants. He's not the only medical consultant with a history of misconduct. The Tennessean reported that 5 contract physicians have histories of misconduct. Now, that's not to say convicted felons should be denied employment. Dr. Thrush graduated college. He must have done pretty darn well because he went to medical school. He graduated medical school. He completed a residency. He practiced medicine. Dr. Thrush devoted himself to being a physician, a healer. Well, he erred. He erred and served his sentence. He deserves a second chance. But don't cast a blind eye. Don't cast a blind eye whether a convicted felon or not. We need integrity in our system. We need to be able to trust our governments, state and federal. The money provided by the federal government was supposed to be enough to pay each medical consultant in Tennessee $170,000 annually, but it didn't seem to work out that way. 7 medical consultants earned more by reviewing high volumes of cases. Dr. Thrush was one of the high-volume medical consultants. Thrush's productivity paid off. He earned more than $170,000 annually. Dr. Thrush earned $420,000 for reviewing the applications of 9,088 Tennesseans who applied for disability during the year ending June 30th of the 5th year of the investigation. He made more than $2.2 million since 2013 for an average of $440,000 yearly during the 5-year investigation. According to the investigation, on average, 80% of cases which Dr. Thrush reviewed were denied. 80% were denied. Was that normal? Well, the Tennessean believed Dr. Thrush's reviews reduced the percentage of applications granted from 30% to 20%. Actually, it was worse than that. For 2017, Social Security reported that 43.5% of all applications for Social Security disability by disabled workers such as Alan Chrisman, were granted. Not 30%. 43.5% were granted. And according to the investigation, that was reduced to 20%. But it's not just that the denial rate increased. What people don't know is how many people, disabled people, quit. How many quit after their applications were denied? It's a shocking figure. It's one of the figures that convinced me to be part of Disability Granted. According to Social Security, in 2017, there were 855,271 medical decisions on Social Security disability applications, such as Mr. Chrisman's. He applied for Social Security disability in 2017. Of those, 855,271 medical decisions, 393,849 were granted. That leaves 461,622 applications which were medically denied, such as Mr. Chrisman's was. 43.5% of all Social Security disability applications were granted, and that's a lot. So what happened to those whose applications were denied? Did they appeal? Remember, you got 3 shots. It's like a batter. If you swing and you miss for strike 1, you don't just quit and walk away. You got 2 more swings at the ball. You got strike 2 and you got strike 3. You don't walk away after strike 1. So 461,622 applications were denied. 250,582 appealed. 211,040 people quit after their Social Security applications were denied. That's a disturbing figure. The umpire called strike 1 and they quit. Social Security statistics suggest that 92.5% of Social Security disability applicants who don't quit win disability benefits. If their applications are denied, they requested reconsideration. If their reconsiderations were unfavorable, they requested a hearing before an administrative law judge. So let's see how other high-volume contract medical consultants fared. Was it just Dr. Thrush who decreased the number of approved applications? Was it just him? Well, let's look at Dr. Kanika Chaudhuri. She was mentioned in the investigation. She's a pediatrician. Her medical focus is on children. Dr. Chaudhuri evaluated 3,872 cases last fiscal year of the investigation. She averaged more than 4 cases per hour when she worked. Remember, she's a pediatrician. Should we worry about whether she's reviewing children's disability claims? Dr. Chaudhuri earned $192,000 in fiscal 2018. That's a little above the anticipated average of $170,000. $22,000 more in 2018, but she earned $1.1 million since 2013. She averaged $220,000 per year. Out of all the cases that Dr. Chaudhuri reviewed those 5 years, 78% were denied, according to data provided by the state of Tennessee. Asked whether she felt pressured to review cases too quickly, Dr. Chaudhuri answered, "No direct pressure. They recommend that we must keep up. They always recommend you do your best. There are so many applications and so few doctors. We're overwhelmed with cases." Well, these are people that are taking more cases than others. They're high volume. medical consultants. Let's look at another one. Janine Khalili, a psychologist, was another high-volume medical consultant. According to the USA Tennessean investigation, Dr. Khalili averaged 4.5 cases an hour since 2013. According to USA Today and the Tennessean, nearly 80% of those cases were denied. Over the 5 years preceding the investigation, Dr. Khalili earned $1.2 million. That included $209,000 in fiscal 2018. Dr. Frank Pennington, an ear, nose, and throat specialist, is another one of the high-volume medical contractors. Dr. Pennington is also one of 5 contract physicians with a history of misconduct. Dr. Pennington is confined to the administrative practice of medicine after 3 separate felony cocaine convictions and 2 stints in federal prison. That was in the 1990s. Dr. Pennington earned $144,000 reviewing cases in 2018. That's less than what was allocated per doctor. But when we look at the other years before this last year of the investigation, he earned more than $1 million since 2013. During that 5-year period, Dr. Pennington reviewed 20,835 cases at a rate of 3 per hour. I guess he's a slowpoke compared to Dr. Thrush. Did our funding of independent contractors to serve as medical consultants cause or contribute to wrongful denials of valid Social Security disability applications such as Alan Chrisman? Did Dr. Thrush and other high-volume medical consultants accomplish what our federal government wanted? Did they use the system to break Social Security's rules? And that's one reason that this series is called Broken System. Won't somebody do something? Some have. Some have done something. Our investigators stood up for us. The USA Today stood up for us. The Tennessean newspaper and its investigative journalists stood up for us. Jeffrey Price stood up. He didn't speak on condition of anonymity either. Some medical contractors stood up anonymously for fear of reprisal. But is there anyone who has enough clout to make a difference? Is there anyone who can fix the system? There may be one man. We'll meet him in Broken System, Part 4. Thank you for watching the Disability Granted channel. If you believe this video would benefit others, please share, like, and subscribe so that they may watch it. Thank you again, and good luck.